Senator Kelly, will you remark further on the resolution? Senator Summers.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to just make a few remarks on the underlying bill. And I think it's important in this circle that we can all agree that we want to do everything that we can to encourage that we have civil participation and ease of participation in our democratic process. I think that all of us can agree to that. I think it's also important, and I think we can all agree that we also would like to preserve and protect our Constitution and that our citizens have confidence in our election process. I'm just going to share with you, I have not gotten one call from my district or even outside of my district from anyone who indicated that they did not have access or the ability to vote in various elections that we've had. Not one. We have same-day registration in the state of Connecticut. You can register and you can vote by absentee 45 days in advance of our election. But one of my issues that I've had in reviewing the language is that it's not concrete. It doesn't seem to have a solid plan. Everything is sort of left up to the future legislation, which really, in essence, leaves it up to whoever is in the majority at that point. And for the years, the state has fallen short in protecting our election process, I feel. We've just heard from Senator Kelly. We've had absentee voter fraud. We've had people voting multiple times. We've had, obviously, issues in counting votes. Something that I would like to share with you is that 2 weeks ago, and I can get this to everybody, the Census Bureau released a report on voter turnout in 2018, so a year ago. And guess what? It climbed 11 points from the last midterm in 2014. And it surpassed 50% for the first time since 1982, so decades. And the increase was driven by minorities. African Americans turned out 27% higher than they had. And Hispanic and Latino voters turned out 50% higher. So that tells us that voters are not feeling suppressed. I've heard a lot of language like suppressed or disenfranchised, and I started to think, have people in Connecticut felt that way since we had our first election in 1788? I don't think so. I have heard from my town clerks and my register of voters that they don't want early voting. They are concerned about how they're going to handle it, about the cost to the municipalities and the unfunded mandates. And right now, we don't have a problem. Anyone who wants to vote, you have same-day registration. You have an availability to vote 45 days if you're not going to be in town early by absentee votes. And we had this conversation in 2013. There was an amendment on the ballot that allowed the citizens of Connecticut to vote on whether they wanted to change the Connecticut Constitution to have early voting, and they said no. They said no just a few years ago. When we talked in our caucus about the conversation that the Secretary of State had, it was clear that the bill would, in essence, allow the majority party, again, whoever that is at the time, to have total authority over how this would be implemented. They would be able to decide what elections have early voting, what elections don't have early voting. Are we going to have legitimate polling places, or are we not going to use our current polling places? They could decide to put a polling location in a library. They could decide to put it at a nursing home, at a college, at a union hall. We have no say in that whatsoever. Whoever is in the majority would have that distinction. We were also told that the Secretary of State does not actually want to use our solid polling places because of the requirements for handicap accessibility, security, and the things that go along with a secure election. That gives me great pause. What is it going to look like? How's it going to be implemented? How is it going to be secured? Are our voting booths going to be secured? Is the ballot going to be sequestered? We don't have any of those answers, and I understand that this is the beginning, but it's hard for us to want to vote on something that's not complete. That seems to be a current theme in this particular session, incomplete documents that we are asked to vote on. So my question is, should we really be changing the Connecticut Constitution for early voting when we really do have it right now? Same-day registration, if you look at the data, which is probably counterintuitive than everyone is thinking here, early voting has not proven to expand or encourage an increase in voting. All it has done or shown in the states that have it is that people vote in a different way. What really changes the amount of people that come out is same-day registration, and we have that here in the state of Connecticut. So I would urge people to think long and hard about the change here and what it means for the vote. We've had issues, as I've said in the past, with us as a state running elections that have run smoothly. I would really like us to consider having a decade of smooth and elections that can prove confident for our citizens before we move to yet another change in the way that we vote. And also think about your ability to vote is your right as a citizen. There's nothing in here that says that we have to hand it to you on a silver platter. Voting for me is something that there's not one person in here that doesn't know when Election Day is. All I hear from constituents and people in town is, oh my God, I can't wait till it's over. Stop with your flyers and this and that. Everybody knows when Election Day is. And I encourage everyone to register and vote on that day, or vote early by absentee ballot. Or if you're not registered, register to vote on same-day registration, and you can vote. There is no suppression. There is no disenfranchised voters. You have every opportunity in this state to vote. It's up to you. So I want to have people really consider this before they make their vote here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Summers. Will you